I say welcome back to Recovery Lab Global. We have with us today Dr. Portia Lockett. Her theme is we have been talking about is grief. And I would like to bring her on now as she talk about her heart as it relates to grief.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. It is indeed a pleasure. We were talking a little bit earlier about, the different layers and components, as it relates to grief. And a lot of times we want to put grief into a box, and that box is just dealing with the loss of a loved one or a dear friend, when there's so many different components of grief. When we think about the loss of mobility, someone has been diagnosed with a chronic illness. Someone may lose a pet. We may experience loss of income, loss of jobs, loss of interaction with other individuals. We were all experiencing some form of grief when we were going through the last 3 years with COVID-19, when people couldn't live their lives. Their livelihoods were just taken away. And so when we think about all those different components, people grieve on different levels depending on where they are in their journey. And I always like to say that the journey of grief is there's no final destination. It's a journey.
Okay. Okay. I like how you said that. And I like how you talked about multiple platforms that a person could grieve other than the loss of a loved one.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times we just think about that part. When we think about grief counseling and a lot of the grief meetings that's actively open in Wayne County today, that's what their platform is. Who did you lose? How was the loss? And what you're experiencing now. And so for you to open it up to say the loss of a job and the loss of income and the loss of different other things, let's talk about that a little bit.
So, when you think about going back to, COVID-19, and a lot of businesses had to shut down.
Okay.
Children couldn't go to school. Some parents couldn't go to work because they had to work from home. And so if you can imagine a household that had two parents that were working, but now they are both working from home. And then the children are in a place where they have to do their homework and be on Zoom. And so you've got all these different layers of people trying to do what they would normally do outside of the house, inside of the house.
Okay.
Right? So that's just one component. And then you think about our health. There were so many people who missed their doctor's appointments because they couldn't get to the doctor. Transportation, was challenged, or some doctor's offices were closed down. I remember attempting to go to the dentist during that time. And one of the questions they asked me as I was sitting out in the parking lot, they said, have you been around anybody that had COVID? Well, I think we had all been exposed to COVID. I work in a hospital. If you go to the grocery store, if you go to the post office, if you go anywhere, you could be exposed to it and you just don't know it.
Okay.
And so there were a lot of people who were, in that space. Some caught it. A lot of people caught it. And then the number of people that we lost during COVID, or people who had it and just didn't know how to be able to maneuver through it. And some of them are still standing today. That's a good thing. But at the aftermath, there are so many people said, I'm dealing with something a little bit different since I had COVID. My respiratory system is different. So that goes back to that whole chronic illness or a limited mobility because of something that took place because of COVID and some other things that may have taken place in life based on how we have taken care of our bodies and our temples.
Wow, that's a lot. It's a lot going on. And so when you think about the grief piece, I've been reading a little bit about it. I'm not the grief expert, but because of my interaction with the community and things like that, I had to research part of it. And the first stage of grief was denial. Like when you first get the phone call that something happened, the first thing you say is, no, don't tell me that. That's the denial piece. And then we go through the anger and then acceptance, bargaining with God. I mean, it's just so many layers when you think about grief that we need to kind of walk through and think about, because grief can cause all types of other, matter of fact, grief can bring on other illnesses, other mental health challenges. It can make a person want to drink. You know, my specialty is alcohol and substance abuse. It can make people want to drink, make people want to drug. It can make people want to speed in their car. I mean, there's so many dynamics. The human body and the psychological aspect of the human body is something else. It's something else. So let's talk about the other part of that. You said something about psychological part of it and how it played down in your dealings today. You know what part? I know you kind of like an educator too. So when are you educating the professionals? What's something that you can give the community? Some of the things that you do in your educational pieces as it relate to grief, and then we're going to talk about, because you said you got a program coming up. I went on some kind of visual, virtual, and I seen you dancing, and I was saying, wait a minute, she talk about it, she dance about it, she teach about it. So you communicating in so many different layers. You know, some people just to hear the music and the dance is the medicine. Some people to hear the psychology and the counseling, the talk therapy, it's the medicine. Some people need a psychiatrist that they can get some actual physical medicine to do the balances. And in the world that we live in today, we got to be open to a lot of different genres. You know, I'm having conversations now with the clergy, and the clergy is trying to infight with the science. So you got science over here writing a prescription, and you got clergy over here writing a prescription. And how do you merge the two? You know, I have to go see my optometrist. You know, I wear glasses. So, I mean, do I just go to a prayer meeting and pray that God heal my eyes? Or do I go get a eye examination to determine that I get cataracts that's blurring my vision, and it can be corrected? And it was corrected through prayer, but it was more than corrected through prayer because I actually went to the doctor. And so, you know, I was at the doctor yesterday. So what I'm saying is it's the holistic approach to wellness is what we're moving to now. And so that dance piece, what was that all about?
So that was actually the anniversary of the Azel B'nai Lockett Foundation, which started approximately a year ago. I started that foundation to honor my son, Azel B'nai Lockett, who was murdered in December of 2020. And during that time, God spoke to my spirit and said, you know what, I'm going to get the glory out of this. And God getting the glory was starting the foundation. And the sole premise of the foundation is to help individuals who are grieving, help them heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they're transitioning and maneuvering through the grief journey period. And so, as I mentioned, earlier, we have to meet people where they are. And so that was my intro to it. And so I danced off of a piece to allow individuals to feel the grief that I was experiencing and letting them know that no matter what type of grief you were experiencing, at some point, if you just reach out and just open yourself up and just allow God to take you to a place of hurt and pain, to a place of healing. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to be completely healed, but you learn how to move, learn how to operate in that space a little bit better, day by day, month by month, year by year. And every individual is completely different. So you mentioned earlier about, we start off with the anger piece or the denial piece. And I tend to differ with that because everyone is different. So you can't say this is going to happen. There's no cookie cutter course to grief.
Okay.
You may be angry, right? I may be in denial. I may be in a whole lot of pain. And I may just say, you know what? I actually realize that this is taking place. So then there's a part about acceptance. So we can't say this is going to happen, then part 2, part 3, segment 4, 5, and 6 is going to happen. And then we move through the process. Everyone is different. Just like the word says, we are all uniquely and wonderfully made in the image of God. We all grieve uniquely. But what I tend to do through the foundation is we try to make sure that we reach different levels. So we have an event coming up, as you mentioned, February the 17th, which is the fourth component of the permission series. There's four components. So we started off with permission to grieve because there's so many people who are grieving, going down that grieving path, who don't feel like they have permission, especially during COVID. Everything was like, you got to get through because somebody else just died, but when you think about it, you're grieving from the loss of a person. You could be grieving from the loss of a toxic relationship or going through a divorce, having to move into a smaller place or relocating. So we talked about that, right? And so then we move on to, now that we have acknowledged that we can grieve, how do we begin that healing journey? You may need medicine, a prescription medication. You may need to sit down and talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or just someone in a grief recovery group. And that's what I do as a grief recovery method specialist. I don't try to, say this is going to work this way. Once you do the background and you do the investigation of what's really going on with that person, because here it is again, sometimes individuals have some grief that they haven't dealt with in the past.
Wow.
And now it's surfacing.
Right.
Right.
So it's on top of grief.
Absolutely. So it's like that grief from a childhood experience that may manifest now that I'm an adult. And I never dealt with it because I didn't have anyone in my household. If you lived back, let's just say in the 60s, right? Or the early 70s, a lot of times when people were going through, they said, go to the church and we're going to pray you through whatever situation it was, which was fine. But I do believe God has given us tools and resources and other mechanisms in order to move through that grieving journey.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So after we had permission to grieve, permission to heal, then we came back with permission to live and laugh, because sometimes people forget I still have a life to live and I have a right to live. Even though that situation has taken place, even that person is no longer here, I still have to live. So how do I live? And then how do I laugh? How do I take that medicine that God said is so important, because laughter is the best medicine. How do I laugh? How do I laugh without feeling like I'm discounting the grief that I'm having?
Right.
February 17th, we're coming back with permission to love again, because sometimes we forget how to love ourselves. We forget how to love the people who are still in the space. Or if you've been in a relationship that didn't work out for whatever reason, I have permission to love again. And sometimes when you're in a relationship, you're still in a relationship, some people fall out of love.
In the relationship?
In the relationship. Now, come on, be honest now.
Okay.
You know, you're a pastor. You've been married for, I don't know, there's been some days when you just wasn't feeling it, right?
Yeah.
So let's just be honest. We're talking real talk, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you may feel as if I'm not in the love. I don't love that person anymore. I'm here because we made a commitment. But how do I fall back in love with that person again? And so we're going to be talking about so many different components of love.
Yeah.
And we're going to have entertainment there. We're going to have counselors and therapists there. People giving their testimonies of how the hurt that they felt and how they maneuvered through that journey. There's going to be so many different components. Entertainment is going to be there. We're going to have food and other people who are grieving. Okay. So it's just imagine a grief party, but we're gonna talk about love.
Oh, amen. Amen. You just said something. How do you fall back in love? Now that's a topic by itself, because most people leave. Most people say, I'm through, I'm out. Hey, this is the last straw. I mean, I'm up. I mean, I'm out of here. They never have that card in the pocket on the table that they can go back and say, how do I find? People don't talk about that part. How do you fall back in love? They just talk about, and a lot of people don't talk about that part, how I'm in this place, but I'm not in this place. I'm just in the space. I'm not in the place. Yes. And that's another whole conversation right there. We might have to come back and deal with that one. But anyway, it's so many layers and layers. And I thank God for Recovery Life Global, because we're going to touch it. Yes. And we're going to real talk it. Absolutely. We're going to touch it. We're going to real talk it. And we're going to get the word out on so many layers and levels of recovery. And I like to say that we're going to take a station break, and we'll be right back after this break.
The opioid epidemic still exists across all zip codes and without boundary, but there is hope, and there is help. The Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network offers treatment, prevention, and recovery resources for those struggling with addiction. Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network has trained clinicians that will talk with you and get you connected to the help that you need. We will help you on your recovery journey. Call us anytime, 24/7 at 800-241-4949. We are here to talk, here to help.
We are back with Recovery Lab Global. Man, it's been a good session, and we've been talking about some great things about Recovery Lab Global. But you know, Recovery Lab Global don't just want to be a presentation. Recovery Lab Global want to reach out. We want to touch out. We want to connect the dots. We want to resource people that need the support, need the help. We want to have walkaways. You know what I'm saying? I can sit here and just do a presentation, do a segment, but what's the walkaway? How can you talking to the community, and this is a global platform. So we talking in New York, Chicago, California, we talking to Africa, we talking to, that's the kind of platform that Recovery Live Global is on right now. And so what can you share with the community? How can we help you? How can the church, how can the community, I found out that vision follow passion. It start off with a passion, it move into a vision, and then it move over to resources. You got people out here with resources and don't know where to put them.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. With the Azale Benet Lockett Foundation, we are always looking for people to be able to pour into us as we pour into others.
Okay.
And the way the community can pour in is by going to our website, the Azale Benet Lockett Foundation.org. That's our website. And you can make a donation. If you'd like to partner with us in any way, just reach out to us. There's a contact form. Let us know what it is that you need and what it is that you would like to help us to be able to do. So when this first happened, I share with you about how the foundation came to be. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not in a good space because as a chaplain, as a spiritual advisor, as a grief recovery method specialist, I was the one that was always pouring. But then when that happened to me, it just took me to a place I never imagined that I would be. I never imagined that I would be standing at the side of my 28-year-old son's casket. I never imagined that. I mean, I knew, the scientist's life says, he's supposed to be standing next to my casket. But there I am at 28 years old, standing next to his casket, along with his girlfriend, along with his family, and knowing that I had a grandchild that was on the way that he would never have an opportunity to have a relationship with. And that seems to be kind of like a repeated story these days, as I'm talking with other mothers who have lost their sons, lost their daughters, and so we've got to figure out a way to be able to, number one, stop this gun violence, right?
Yeah,
and number two, how do we help those individuals who don't have help? So everybody doesn't have insurance plan. So when those individuals call us and they say, you know what, I need a counselor, I need to be in therapy, I need some support, I don't have the means or the wherewithal to be able to even bury my child, then that's where the Azale Benet Lockett Foundation comes into place. So we want to be in a position to be able to help those individuals who are hurting. We want to help them heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they're going through that. So it may be the fact that you want to partner with us and do some therapy or provide some counseling in kind, or we can work some things out or send them to you. We have the means. The more money we have, the more we can help those individuals. So whatever it is, there's a way for us to bless you, and there's an opportunity for you to be able to bless us and help us connect. I get calls from all over. You mentioned that we were on different platforms. So we get calls. And so what we try to do is connect with those individuals in various states. So my son, for example, he was murdered in Atlanta. And so I was able to partner up with the Crimes Victims Organization there in Atlanta to be able to help helped me through my journey. And here locally, I was able to sit down with a therapist because I believe I can't help anybody else go through their journey if I'm not taking care of myself. So I had to pause. I had to take a moment to say, okay, Portia, Dr. Portia, you can't be in that role, that space right now. You need to back up and be in this seat and get poured into, get help, and realize that with God I can do it, but I need some help. He gave me resources. He gave me tools to be able to do it.
Amen. Amen. You said a mouthful. Everybody need help. The doctor need a doctor.
Absolutely. Dentist
The dentist need a dentist. The pastor need a pastor.
Absolutely.
You don't know it yet, but
we all do. You think
yeah,
about it. Everybody needs
the
some
counselor need a counselor.
Yes.
And we got to look at it like that. Ain't no supermans and superwomans out here that could just go on and on and on and on and never take a break, never take a pause, never take a vacation, never pull back, never realize that the program can go on without you.
Absolutely.
You know, you thinking you all of that, and God forbid something happen, and now the program got to go on without you. I'm on a mission today to work with young people. The Lord is pressing me to deal with our younger generation, Gen Z's Pacific, because I mean, we winding down. They told me, and I didn't want to believe it. I was studying the butterfly, and it wasn't born a butterfly. It was born a caterpillar, and it went through the stages to become a butterfly. As a man, you born, you grow, you mature, you decline, and you die. Everybody. One of them preachers told me that one out of every one gonna die. And I was saying, come on now, everybody? Say, hey, one out of every one, everybody. So when I look at it from that perspective, I got to think about succession plans. I got to think about passing on the knowledge. I talked about I was a hairdresser, and I got to pass that information. I don't want that skill set and the science of working with hair to just go in the ground. Somebody got to get that part. Yeah, somebody got to get that part so we can pass this thing on. So I'm excited about Recovery Live Global. I'm excited about what we're doing. I'm excited about the individuals that we have it on the show to just keep it going, make it work. And we just thank you for your vast value information that you was able to lend to us in just a short little moment.
Well, thank you so much.
And
Just interject here. So if there's someone that's listening who wants to come to the event, which is going to take place on Saturday, February the 17th, it's Permission to Love Again from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Wayne County Community College District Northwest Campus. But you can go on Eventbrite and put in Permission to Love Again. The tickets are only $25 and 2 for $40. And even if you can't come, you can buy a ticket for someone else. Sow a seed, because the way we work, the way we operate, the way we are able to help our community and those who are in need, our grieving community, is by people who sow seeds to be someone else's need.
Amen. Amen. This has been another segment of Recovery Live Global. We have with us today Dr. Portia Lockett. I thank God for you just coming and sharing the information that you have shared with us today. And I believe if it's the Lord's will, we're going to have you back, because there's so much more information that you have for our listening audience. And so I just say stay tuned to Recovery Live Global. Listen up, spread the word. Go to our different platforms. You will see them scrolling on the screen behind the show. And this has been a segment of Recovery Live Global. Your host, Jesse Washington.